certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Accomack County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. May I have roll call?
Present.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Thank you. I'd like to recognize we have one of our board supervisors here, Ms. Vanessa Johnson. Welcome. May we all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I've moved that we approve the agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
Thank you. Is there, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we approve the readmission cases 8/20/24/01, 03, 04, 05, 06 as presented and discussed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Madam Chair, I motion that we approve the minutes from the meeting of 8/06/2024.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And is there a motion to approve the vouchers or any questions about the vouchers?
Question. I can wait till the motion.
Madam Chair, I motion that we approve the vouchers as presented this evening.
Okay. Ms. Dr. Johnson?
Question is probably for Ms. Onley. The Sands Anderson bill, am I right in understanding that we have split costs just based on the fiscal year, $3,932.50 for FY '24, plus $13,009.15 for the second? I was confused.
That's right. So at this time of year, we're processing vouchers for July and August, and we're processing 2 sets of vouchers every month. Some date back to FY '24 and some go to FY '25. So I'd have to look this one up, but I believe that's for May and June and July. But so if there's one in FY '25, it would be July's. If it's in FY '24, it would either be May and June or June. I'd have to look it up
And
specifically.
Sands Anderson represents us in a variety of ways.
Right, but I get the bills for approval, so I don't know if I don't have them in front of me, but, might be a code on there, procurement, okay? That's charged to my code. You're
Right.
charged to your code. I have DOL, so
Yes.
I try to separate it out. Sometimes I have sped, and I just try to do a short description.
Right, thank you. Does that work? Okay. So there is a motion and a second. There has been questions, which I believe were answered. Is there anything else? All in favor of approving the vouchers?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the religious exemptions?
I move that we approve the religious exemptions as presented.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Is there a motion for the personnel list?
I move that we approve the personnel list as presented this evening.
Thank you. There is a motion and a second to approve the personnel list. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mental health supports, Ms. Haney. Oh, no, I'm sorry, public comment.
You do have some.
I'm sorry. Some the most interesting part of it. Thank you. Connie Burford.
Is this on?
Hello. Good evening, Connie Burford, Chincoteague, Virginia. In the budget, there is a proposal for approximately $1 million per year to contract with an agency that will provide security guards in our schools. That's a lot of money that could be better utilized, perhaps by keeping the additional nursing help in our schools. The main reasons cited to hire the security guards would be to assist with searching the student backpacks, help with monitoring the hallways to prevent loitering, and to deter vaping in the bathrooms. These issues can be accomplished in ways that do not require such a hefty price tag. The use of clear backpacks would cut down on time and decrease the likelihood of illegal items being brought into our buildings. They are used universally in stadiums and concert venues without issue. Therefore, we should have no issue using them in our schools. We also have multiple cameras that are located in the office. They are monitored constantly. There's no reason that these cameras cannot detect students that are loitering in the halls. Lastly, we have access to vape sensors. I don't know why they're not being used, but if we were, that would be another problem solved. I really hope that before this board approves the budget, that they think long and hard about including this line item. Perhaps the best idea would be to offer a stipend to those employees who have been pulled from their regular duties to check the backpacks every day. The board thus far has failed to provide the help that was needed for the nurses desperately. And they have considered now a massive invasion of security guards. My fear is that this sends the idea to the general public that Accomack County Public Schools is operating on a prison-like mentality. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Ms. Haney is going to talk to us about our technical supports.
Good evening, everyone. Upon the start of the school year, I just wanted to refresh everybody about the current supports in place for our students' mental health while sharing an added service for the upcoming school year. So I'm breaking this down into 3 parts. So Tier 1 students receive SEL intervention from school counselors. They receive as needed school counselor intervention and interventions from our Accomack County mental health counselors. They see them individually as needed. They also have crisis intervention as needed. Our Tier 2 students are involved in groups or individual sessions with our school counselors. They can be referred to our Accomack County mental health counselors for about 6 sessions before we think about referring them out to an outside agency. Our Accomack County mental health counselors also provide substance use counseling for students with drug use or possession type suspensions. The kids that are in our Reconnect program receive daily interventions in the group therapy session from our mental health counselors as well. Tier 2 students get crisis intervention as needed, and typically our Tier 2 students have involvement with a school psychologist, a school social worker, or behavior specialist for consultation and help with linking to services that are necessary. Tier 3 students can receive groups and individual sessions as needed by counselor, crisis intervention, mental health counseling from our Accomack County counselors, up to 10 sessions. And typically these students are referred for therapeutic day treatment services or intensive in-home services with National Counseling Group. And they're also referred to outside agencies like the CSB or Coastal Counseling consultation for additional services as well. So while this plan offers great support for our students, we could optimize the behavioral health support we offer our students by adding another layer to this, which would be outpatient counseling in the school setting through licensed clinicians. This layer of support would allow students to be seen consistently to address more underlying and complex issues. Currently, we're referring students to receive this level of service. However, we often see barriers to them accessing this level of service, such as lack of follow-through due to many different issues like transportation, not being able to attend because of work scheduling with the parents or them, And so we see sometimes a lack of them getting access to what we truly feel like would help them get to the root of the problem. So to combat these barriers, this year we're going to be partnering with the Eastern Shore Community Services Board so that outpatient counseling can be provided in the school setting. And it'll be similar to how we partner with Rural Health for dental and National Counseling Group for therapeutic day treatment services. Very similar process. To start, the program's going to be piloted at Nandua High School and Arcadia High School, where the licensed clinician will be in each of these buildings 1 day a week. This could increase based on the need, and eventually we would like to see a counselor in several of the schools, but just for this year, we're starting at those 2 schools. So an intake evaluation will take place with the counselor, the parent, and the student at the school, instead of them having to go to the Community Services Board, prior to the service being received, so that all the paperwork can be completed, consent's given, and information is shared. The student insurance will be billed. However, if the family is unable to pay because they don't have insurance or the copay is too high, the CSB has funding streams to help support this, so every kid that needs the service will get the service. Mental health issues do play a significant role in student behavior, absenteeism, academic performance, and the overall health of our students. The idea is that if we add this extra layer of support for our students, it's likely that we'll see improvements as a division as it relates to attendance, behavior, academics, and the overall well-being of our kids. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
So it's gonna be, just to clarify, it's gonna be piloted at Nandua High School. And did you say the parents will participate or no?
They will, so it's gonna be at Arcadia High and Nandua High. The same counselor will be at each school, the 1 day per week. And then, what was the second part?
Will the family be
So
involved, or the
they will,
parents?
they have to be a part of the intake to sign the paperwork and things. And then if the counselor feels that it's appropriate that the parent participate in family sessions, that can happen too. Typically, it's just with the child and the counselor, but the parents can be a part of it as well.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for all the information and for the walk around. With regard to the pilot, just a thought, I find it just slightly troublesome if I'm hearing that transportation is largely a challenge, and this is why we're piloting, yet the students who are farthest away, Shingatig Combined School, are not part of the pilot. I think I might know why, but I am just putting it out there.
I think when the decision was made to make it the 2 high schools, we were just thinking of like the greater need. But I do also think there's definitely room to look at other schools. I think that we just have to start somewhere, and this is just where it was started. But, you know, if she can, I think too, if the numbers are high enough, we could probably add another school fairly easily. But the other 3 days, she's gonna be working at the CSB office.
Are you gonna talk to us about parenting?
Yes, and let me hand these out really quick. Sure. Okay, so we're doing Haney University again. This is our 2nd annual event. This time it's gonna be on September 21st, still at Wetumpka from 9 to 12, and it's for all parents of Accomack County students. So this year we have sessions, session topics related to quality early childhood education, CTE and dual enrollment opportunities, how to help your child increase their skills in math and literacy, family engagement, and more. We want to do our best to eliminate any barriers that would prevent parents from getting to the event, so childcare is being offered, translation, a complimentary lunch. We will have the bookmobile on site again, and there will be a chance for parents to win door prizes. Many community agencies will be there as vendors, sharing their information, and again, we'll have our student volunteers helping us, and they are going to be earning their community service hours. We hope to have a good turnout, and if you guys want to help us share the word about the event, I'd be happy to print some more flyers to hand you, so you can pass them out or share on your social medias or whatever.
Thanks, I would just say, share this at your church, or you have some group event, if you could just announce it. It is a very nice event, and, it's a lot of great information for, it just really, I think more, if people knew about it, I think there'd be a much bigger turnout, but it is a very nice event. Yes.
I just wanna say, last year I attended, and it was really some awesome classes, and presenters were really good, and I think it's a great opportunity for any parent to come out and to participate, so.
I know, I
Did a
wish.
great job last year, and I'm looking forward to this year.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We've got a flyer going home with every single student. So those were given to the schools today to go home with the children in their new back-to-school packet with all the forms and things like that. And then we've got an ad on WESR, going on Coffee with Kelly, and trying to get it out there as much as possible, so.
It's on our Facebook page and stuff.
Yes, and we created an event on the Facebook page so people can click going or interested, and then it goes on their calendar and they get reminders about it, so hopefully that'll help too.
I wish it was somebody we could record some of these, so people could hear them again later.
I'm gonna try to get the students to help us with that. Yeah.
I guess that maybe the opportunity would be for our high schoolers to get some community outreach.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
That'd be good.
We had a lot of student volunteers last year, and hopefully the same amount this year. They help us with the translation. I'm gonna try to get them to help with recording the sessions too. And the child care part, they help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bennett.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Greta, you got the clicker, or do I need to do it? You better click for me, it's safer when you do it. I kind of get all over the place. I'm gonna start out with, just a short presentation on the proposed auxiliary gym for Pungateek and, Nandua. We're at 35% design on both these, and that just got us far enough along the process to kind of come up with a layout where we can get cost estimates and things like that. Pungateek will be first on this. I think, go ahead, Greta. Kind of shows the footprint of where the new auxiliary gym would be, and that's on the northwest corner, adjacent to like the teacher's parking lot. You can kind of see there, but they've kind of come up with a good entry. That's like a atrium type from the school into the gym, but yet you can also, if we were to use the gym for like a Saturday event or something like that, you could access the gym, the new auxiliary gym, through the exterior back going into the school. Next slide shows kind of the interior layout of that, which is on the, I don't know which way you all are looking at it, where there's 4 rooms on one side, there's a mechanical room, 2 restrooms, and then a storage, and on the opposite end, there's another big storage area, and there's a small office there. And you can kind of see, that's fine, you can kind of see the connector there a little bit better, where it kind of works coming from the school into the gym and from the sidewalk adjacent to the teacher parking lot to go in there. All right, this is kind of just shows the view from the exterior. One thing I'll add that we did, if you look at the one in the top right corner, it's got a low slope roof on it. We did go to them and say that our preference on this would probably be an A roof instead, to kind of match up with the other roofs on Pungateek. So as we get through the slide, they didn't get a drawing back to me on this, but they did get a cost estimate on it, and that'll be like a couple slides down. Next slide shows there it is with the low slope. So just picture the low slope roof being an A roof instead of that. And the next slide goes through kind of some numbers. 6,375 square foot gym and associated site work. They came up with an estimated square footage cost $433. So you see the estimated construction cost, $2.7 million. Switching the low slope to a gable roof would be approximately $40,000 savings. This is at 35% design. A lot of times what you can expect from 35% to 65%, which would be the next step in the process here, is generally you'll see costs go down some in the next step. And then you may see from 65 to 100% additional savings unless people go crazy, and then you can see inflated costs. I think on this, if we do move forward with it, then we'll see some cost savings from 35 to 65. I'm not gonna put a number on it because I really don't know, because right now the construction industry and materials and everything are pretty silly. I think that they've come up with this 2.7, and I went through all the details. It's pretty spot on for what we've got going on right now. Nandua, next, this is the proposed location, which is adjacent to the back hallway coming out of the gym and the locker rooms. First thing you'll notice about this, go to the next one, Brett, I think. The layout, there are no restrooms in this at all. There's no water in it at all, with the locker rooms being adjacent to it. The cost savings there, we had 2 storage areas there along with a small office as well. Okay, Greta, next one, kind of again, the same thing. This one, we don't have a problem with the low slope roof, given that Nando's got a flat roof on most of it. It sits kind of adjacent to the storage, building that's back there and gives good connectivity to the school and the locker rooms. There's just kind of the what it would look like from the exterior adjacent to the storage building. You can really not even see the school in the background of it from this angle, this is looking at it from the back. This one won't really be seen much from like 13 or anything, where Pungatee's Gym will be seen from, I'm not sure the name of that road, Bobtown Road. Okay, Bobtown Road will be seen. Numbers for this one on the next slide. This one's 7,240 square foot, $359 a square foot, which is less than the other. That's taking the water out, no water in this, so the costs come down some. Estimated cost of $2.6 million. Then we went through to go with some cost savings on this one, and we could remove everything on the west end of the bill, which was the 2 storage areas in the office, and there's about $287,000 savings there. We looked at cutting the gym in half, but as I put a note in there, to do this, it's gonna compromise the space. It's not even gonna have enough room at that point to even have a volleyball court without limitations. It does drop the price drastically, but I don't know that we're building a facility that benefits the school athletics. Questions?
Can they play basketball in that gym?
If we cut it in half?
No.
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's go back real quick to the Nandua.
It's basketball size.
Yeah, it doesn't have room for any spectators or anything like that, but it does have a full court basketball with safe parameters around it and everything, but no one for spectators, things like that. But yes, ma'am, you could play basketball and full-size volleyball.
I guess I do have a question. Have we looked at to see if this would have a gable roof? Is there any kind of cost savings on that?
On the one at Nandua?
Yes.
We have not at this point. There probably would be some cost savings with it. Not sure what it would be.
It'd be kind of interesting just to see what it would be, because
Right.
it'd be worth that, but.
And if we move forward, kind of, right now stopped at 35%, the architect stopped and everything, because we really don't, without board direction, I think, we gotta figure out where we're going. Once we do that, we'll task them with moving to 65% and we'll go with, what can we do with a gable roof and things like that. And kind of move towards the development of them to 65% design, see where we come back in on budget and everything, and see if we gotta tweak it some more to get it, it's recognize as much cost savings as possible. Okay, so I think I'm up here again for my second one, which is a facilities update on, projects that we've got going on, completed, and still in the works. So this is updated as recently as this morning. I think I sent this to Greta, so bear with me. Some of it may be unfamiliar to me. We did a lot of exterior painting this year. The 2 middle schools both got giant facelifts on painting, all the exterior trim work, the fronts and everything. The middle slide kind of shows some damage that was Arcadia middle on the porch. Got all that taken care of. They really look nice. A lot of people, expressed how well they look. The principals and everything were really happy. But we did do those. I think next slide's going to show some of the doors that we're painting and kind of what they were and what they are. And we got we're still doing some painting. The last painting project going on right now, we're painting the interior of Arcadia High School's kitchen and service line and all of that. So we'll get that wrapped up this week. Let's see, Greta, what interior. We painted the entire interior of Pungatee, and I want to stop kind of right here and give a big shout out to the custodial maintenance staff. You can't see it as good, but I mean, you can see the floors in here. The custodial staff this year did a great job working in these schools, getting them ready. I got guys down at Accomack Elementary working right now.
These floors look great.
Yeah, they have, I mean, I can't thank them enough. I think what you see when you look at this floor, when you look at those floors, even in pictures, and you see the shine, is the pride these folks take in what they do and how much they care about their particular schools. And they take ownership of it. And I mean, I couldn't ask for them to do a better job than what they've done. So, but that's kind of tongue in cheek. Any of you all to get a chance, I mean, the interior of that school looks really good. All fresh paint, floors cleaned up. Principal Patterson, his people down there are really happy, so it's turned out good. Next, I think, was paving. Got a lot of paving projects. This one we got done, striping and everything. We're starting Pungatee tomorrow, which will be fun with all the teachers arriving. But we've got a plan worked out. We should have that one done by the end of the week and have all the other striping. We don't have any striping done at any of them I ain't doing right now. The others we don't have, so we'll get that to avoid confusion. Let's see. Chincoteague, this one's updated this morning. We're doing a lot of work up there in the gym and cafeteria. They're working on the floor. The floor is in the right-hand upper corner. It's an epoxy-coated floor, blue, and we painted the gym, and you can see kind of the accent stripes on the wall, the blue and the yellow. The floor will have the same blue and yellow. It'll have blue, yellow stripes for all the basketball lines and everything. People were stopping in there today, looking at it while they were doing it, and everybody's like oohing and ahhing how pretty it is. It almost looks like it's water, but it's going to be really neat when it's done. We got the partition walls in the left corner. You can kind of see it tore up. Mr. Spotnell can attest to that. It looks really ragged. We do have the new one ordered. It's not going to be there in time to get installed before school starts. We're going to try to work that out over like a winter break or something like that. It's just a long lead time item that got delayed some. Then do a high school gym floor. This one was a complete kind of makeover. This kind of shows just some pictures. The one on the left is like what it looked like. You can see the faded 3-point area, 3-second lane and everything. The guy Sanders on the right behind Sanders. And the next one is kind of shows the layout. All right, this is kind of shows you the new colors going down and everything, and you can go ahead to the next one, Greta. This kind of shows the finished product in the center one is center court, and I give a lot of, Principal Giddens came up with that idea of having the Eastern Shore kind of embedded behind the end for Nandua. That picture doesn't do it justice. If you get a chance to be down there for a game or something like that, go up in the bleachers and look down on it. It is really cool, and that was a great idea that she came up with. So we got that finished and knocked out. Technology, so I know that was the next on the list, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Demolition began, next slide, Greta. That was a beast. My first experience in 35 plus years of trying to demo a bank vault. As you can see by the pictures, it was a challenge. It made us do some interior changes. We couldn't get the back, which would be the west wall or the north wall, completely out, because in doing so, it was going to blow the exterior walls out of the building. So we made some interior adjustments. You can go to the next slide, Greta. This is kind of what it looked like a couple weeks ago. Now they're putting the ceiling in, started floor work today, painting. The building itself will be ready at the end of this month. I'll talk to Jack. We're going to work on getting it moved back in. The server room will not be ready. We ran into a long lead time on the HVAC equipment for the server room. Right now, information I got today, it probably won't even ship from the factory until around September 21st, which puts us at an installation of sometime probably in early October. Jack and I talked about this the last couple of weeks. Jack is fine with it. Jack said he would rather not try to move the servers before school started anyway. So I think we'll get them moved into it, and then we'll deal with the server. What he's talking about, either do it over a weekend or take a break and do it. So we are behind due to that. I think I got one more slide, maybe, Greta. This slide, and I'll kind of talk about the upper right-hand corner because Mr. Howard asked a question earlier. That is the old drive-through. You can see in the middle slide as well, where it's got the paper on it. The that area is not gonna be brick, it's hardy board siding is what in the plans, and it'll be painted, it's already been painted one coat, it's kind of a metallic brown, and I don't have a picture, did I have a picture of the front of the building on the other slides back the other way? I don't think I did, but anyway, the front entrance of the building is, metal storefront doors and windows and everything with like the bronze color. So Jack, when we were talking colors, he wanted it to kind of match, so the siding's been painted a color to kind of match the storefront entry of the building. Really don't have much to tell you other than that we're behind on the server room and I can't change.
Are we on budget?
Yes, ma'am. We've got a couple of change orders on some technology type equipment that weren't figured into it originally, that Jack was aware of. I've worked with Beth on everything. We're on the project itself, we're on budget right now as it stands, and hopefully we're gonna regain some funds due to their scheduling mix up on the equipment.
So I know with our money that we have with this, is that gonna be affected or where it's gonna be completed? You know what I'm saying, Beth, because I know we have.
We're gonna be okay because we separated the project and the roofing and the HVAC and the removal of the vault was paid from, it's a blended funding.
Yes.
Those three things were paid with, operational funds, so there's no limit on that. And the remainder of the building was paid with, ESSER funds. So
That's
we
what
will
mine
need
is.
that, because what we're gonna struggle needing is with the HVAC and the server. And that was separated from the beginning.
Yes, we did that in the beginning, and I don't think we're having any problem with the ESSER funds that are due September 30th. We've got to have those paid out, so I think we're in good shape there. The other stuff, we'll just have to figure it out, but I think we'll be fine. It's just that you'll have the building completely ready, except for the server room. That doesn't do you a lot of good when it's your technology building. And the server room's the most important thing in it.
And does, Mr. Bowden have any idea how long this is gonna take them to move the server?
He's talked like a couple of days. The way, I'm not a tech
Okay,
guy,
that's
so
fine.
he
I know
said,
you-
once they get the racks and everything in, then moving the actual components and putting them in doesn't take long at all. So, you know, I'm still hedging on allowing a week or something, is what I wanna do, but he's convinced that they could move the servers that they need to move in a weekend. So, and, you know, that's his wheelhouse, so
Oh,
I
yes.
believe it.
And I wasn't exactly expecting you to have
Right.
a full answer. Just didn't have anybody to talk to you about.
Next one, Dandua High Tennis Courts. This is a project that's in the process right now. This work was actually being done last week. We've got everything, all the new asphalt in place. We cut out all the cracks. You can kind of see the asphalt there. We cut down all the cracks down to the base coat, redid all that, and now we're kind of waiting, kind of a cure time before we can come back in and put the tennis court ceiling on it, the lines and everything. Hopefully still to get that in, and, you know, my goal was to have in mid-September, have that 100% complete, fence put back in place, and have a nice tennis court. Accomack Primary, we are at 65% design on this. They're currently working on final drawings and bid documents are gonna be completed next month, and we will have this project ready to go out to bid in October. So this project's moving faster than I'm prepared for. I'm still working on, figuring out a way to clean out the interior, what's there. But we are making significant progress on this, and if things go to plan, it came in at budget that we, you know, at 65%, we're actually, I guess, a little under budget. Not much, but I mean, it's where we expected it to be. Hopefully between the 65 and 100, we can recover some additional savings on stuff, but probably not much, we didn't make a lot of changes. We've had meetings with the stakeholders that are in the building, and everybody's really pleased with the way it lays out. I think it's gonna be a very functional building for everybody. So if we could get it out to bid, I mean, ideally, we would wanna start construction on this building in January of 25, which is closer than you realize.
Is the auditorium, it's hard to tell from this, the auditorium keeping the same footprint for the auditorium? It looks like there's structures behind the stage or.
Well, the stuff behind the stage is already back there. That's existing. The auditorium actually becomes a little bit larger because there was a wall built in there, and to make some little side offices, I guess. So the auditorium becomes as big as it was originally, is what it does. And the areas behind it are like backstage things, and some of it doesn't really show well there because you've seen it all flat laid out. Some of that is mechanical spaces that are actually like a couple steps down and everything, so. It's coming along good, I think, you know, I'm excited to see, final plans and put it out to bid, see what happens. Is that it? That's it, other than, you know, I'm not gonna read the list, but it's been a lot going on. The custodial staff, the maintenance staff, the grounds guys, they have done a great job this year. And it's just amazing the volume of work that they get done, with everything going on. But I mean, we've been in every school this year with small projects, large projects. I mean, this is what all the schools look like. It's like this right here. I mean, they're clean. You know, when teachers get here tomorrow, I mean, I think, and then, you know, teachers great. I'm glad they're coming. I'm excited when the kids come back on Thursday. They get to come into schools and classrooms like this. That's what makes it all worthwhile. So that's it.
Do you need a vote to move forward with the gymnasiums?
I don't know what
Not
we
really.
need.
So,
I don't know what we need, really.
we're, you know that when we were looking at carryover funds, I put both of those projects in there. You know that we have specific state construction funds that has to pay for one. And, but you also saw that we would have the money to do them both and carry forward, but that would be something that this board will vote on. So, I mean.
Okay, with all the other stuff? not-
Yes, ma'am. I mean, we can move together we can move forward right now on one, because we have school construction funds that we must spend by the state, which are designated for that. So there's one without any contest, but the rest would kind of be in the package with the carry forward, which we should know in the fall. The final numbers will be, that was an estimate I gave you of the previous, but we'll add whatever we have this year, and you will be getting a presentation on that in the fall, and hopefully a vote.
So, and or did you say you're moving forward with Pungatee first?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh,
I said if, you could vote tonight to move forward with one of them, because school construction money, even though it's in our carry forward, it must be spent on a project such as this.
Up to the board, which one they want to move forward now, right now. Would y'all like to move forward with the Andover one, or?
I say Pungatee myself, but they ain't got anything, they don't have nothing.
What have they been using for the last?
Just a little
60
street side of
years?
cafeteria, that little gym, I mean, stage and,
The
Like not a
cafeteria,
cafeteria.
cafeteria.
Yeah, I guess I hear
half
from the coaches at Nandoa that they have 4 basketball teams and a competitive cheer team and volleyball, and nobody's got any place to practice, and they're scrounging up practice place at the middle school and calling the YMCA and they borrowing and stealing practice space. And, so I hear more about that. And I think it's also used for, you know, community events, and I think Parks and Rec is in there too.
But the gyms are at, right now they're at, percentage was it?
35%.
So
We've still got a lot to do on both of them, and the reason we stopped them at 35, because 35 at least gave us budgets where we could get costs and get enough to see what the layout and stuff like that, but we held them up to go any further, because we wanted to kind of, you know, get direction. Do we move to 65% on both of them? Do we leave one now, or do we move to 65% on the other, whichever one that would be, or, you know, to kind of guide what we want to do as far as getting whichever one to a bid process, the soonest.
Because we wanted to go at least as far as 35%, so that you'd have data to move forward. We didn't want to spend any more than 35 to go to 65 in case you weren't going to move forward. So we think that you have the numbers, or at least the estimates, that you can move forward. We do have the state construction funds, like I said, that would cover one of them, but, you know, I'm not saying that there won't be, you know, it was in my estimate to cover both of them, but that rest would be with other carry forward. So we can move ahead to 65 if this board wants us to.
I'd like to see us move ahead on both, because I understand what Mr. White's saying, but I hear the same complaint that you hear from our kids.
Thank you for the update.
Yes, ma'am.
We enjoy the pictures.
I just wanted to say too.
Yes.
I think it was a great job, and I really enjoyed your presentation and how thorough it was, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. 6.04, technology update.
Good evening, board. My name is Keita Harris. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Technology Department and my supervisor, Mr. Jack Bowden, regarding the external law enforcement agencies' access to ACPS schools. Let me apologize in advance that if you have any questions after this update, you will need to reach out to Mr. Bowden. The Sheriff's Office, based on the list of deputies received from Public Works on 6/4/24, the deputies and their county credentials have been programmed into the ACPS key scan system. This task is completed. For the Melfa State Police Precinct, per First Sergeant Jeffrey J. Reynes, the troopers work rotating shifts. First Sergeant Reynes is sending the troopers on Wednesdays. As of 8/14/24, 7 of the 17 troopers listed have stopped by and have had their county credentials programmed into the ACPS key scan system. This task is ongoing. For local law enforcement, we are still waiting on contact information for the local law enforcement. And once again, I repeat, if you have any questions, please reach out to Mr. Bowden. That's all I have for tonight.
I really thank you for coming. I realize you were the sacrificial.
Anything for my team.
If you might tell Mr. Bowden, there will be follow-up questions.
I certainly will.
Just so you are aware, I don't know if anybody told you, but this board voted in March for these law enforcement. And then, God forbid, in the event of an emergency, we need law enforcement in buildings. This was approved in March.
Yes, I listened to the meeting. Yes, got it.
Thank
All right.
you, thank you.
Everyone have a good evening. Thank you.
Financial report, Ms. Evans.
Good evening. You see on the federal programs update that we've already met our September 30th target on Title I. And we will meet it on all of the remaining ones. We are meeting tomorrow concerning Title V. We are in the process on the second page of beginning to do the reimbursements and catch up the reimbursements on all of the ESSER programs, because as you know, they are expiring September 30th. We've had major reports due this past weekend and this week on all of the ESSER funds, and they have been completed and timely filed, and now we're gonna begin to do reimbursements. Are there any questions? I'm sorry for the, when you get a new computer, everything goes, and my printing to Adobe went out the window, so it had to go to a copier.
Next up, the SOL and attendance update, Ms. Ferguson. Della.
Just this microphone here.
One of my slides, I got all that information on there, but it is microscopic, I'm gonna be honest. So I printed you guys a copy that you could actually read. It looked good in the PowerPoint, but
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure that y'all could read it. Okay, so next one, Greta. So at our admin retreat a couple weeks ago, Dr. Hall did an activity with us, and she asked us what our song for 24-25 school year was. Well, I told her, I said, I can't tell you. And that was hard for me to say because that was Dr. Hall. And then I said, I'll tell you in a minute. So this is my song. Greta, if you can hit the red button for me. This is my theme song up in the picture. Go back.
I didn't recognize
Yeah, up in the corner. Is it clicking? Come on.
You just have to sing to it.
I can't say. Is it not working?
The Jeffersons theme.
It is the Jeffersons theme song, and it's moving on up.
So Greta's got to sing
Yeah, so Greta's got to sing for me. So,
That was
that's right. So moving on up, and you guys know that I am real big on this moving from red to yellow to green, and so we really did move on up this year. Arcadia High School went from red to yellow in science with a 16% gain, and they also had everything coded correctly for their CCCRI report, so I'd like to give a shout out to that school counseling office there. There also, one of the issues that we had last year was SOL data that wasn't coded correctly, and so I'd like to shout out to all my 14 STCs. We had no data submissions on SOL, so great job to them. I'd also like to thank Dr. Hall for giving you the SOL report in July. I was at the state testing meeting, so thank you very much for filling in for me. Last year we had one school in all green. This year we have 3 elementaries, Chincoteague Elementary, Pungateague Elementary, and Accomack Elementary are all green. That number, my favorite phrase is, could go up because we're still waiting on some high school information, but as of now we went from 1, see, moving on up, to 3. So great job to those elementary schools, okay? All right, and so probably one of the biggest shout outs last year, our 2 areas of concern were attendance and CCCRI, and we knocked it out of the park. All of our schools, all 11 schools are green on attendance this year. I'd like to give a shout out to Miss Jordan and her truancy staff for all the hard work, and the school administrators and all their hard work. So we were all green on attendance. If you look at the next slide, these are our attendance rates for schools, and if you look at the differences between the 22-23 school year and the 23-24 school year, you can see a big difference. This was also the initiative of the governor. I had the chance to hear a press conference today by the governor, and statewide, Virginia dropped to 16% in students who missed over 18 days. I'm gonna tell you about ours in just a minute. But you can really tell a difference as you compare those, the numbers between the school year with the difference. Accomack County had a 50% drop. So we went from 19% last year to 9% this year. So what a big difference. We beat the statewide average. So I was really happy when I heard Governor Youngkin say that, because I was like, oh, we beat him, we beat him. So at 50% reduction, I'm really, really proud of us. So that's a lot of hard work. Miss Jordan, thank you. Miss Haney. So, okay. So this is our accreditation standard. You know, my yellows and greens and reds. If they change this, I don't know what I'm gonna do next year. But you can see where we are. We're all green in academic achievement, in English, and in math. So that means that our students are passing the test. Where we're not, where we need to focus are the gap groups. The gap groups are our students with disabilities, our English language learners, economically disadvantaged, and our different race groups. And I'm going to break this down in just a minute for you. Also the gap group math, we have some issues there. Science statewide, we're about with them, which is what the governor was talking about today. And then look at that beautiful absenteeism column, and we're all green. And then accreditation, as of right now, we've got all of our schools are accredited except for 2, and they are accredited with conditions. I have heard that Kagatank may go to accredited and come out of that condition, so I'm still waiting. I keep stalking that site because I want that to change so bad. So this is kind of the red, yellow, and green breakdown, and if you go to the next slide, this is what's on your piece of paper, because this is really hard to read. But it breaks down the information from the 21-22 to 22-23 to 23-24. A couple things I would really like to shout out, let me go explain. So I've got our percentages for achievement, and then the gap groups, we don't get a percentage. What we get are level 1, level 2, level 3 for each one of our gap groups. And then it does the same thing for math, and then we go back to science with a percentage. So a couple of these that I'd like to call out. Chincoteague Elementary went from 61.9% pass rate in 22-23 to 79.41. So across the state, when schools are not doing well in science, great job Chincoteague Elementary. If you look at Punkateague, they went from 82.43 achievement in math to 91.24. So these are well above the state average. So our schools are doing very well. Arcadia Middle School, even though they are accredited with conditions, I am really proud of that staff and those students because they made significant gains in some areas. They went from 66.61 achievement percentage pass rate in English during 22-23 to 74.27. So we are seeing growth. If you look at math, the same thing, 70.3 for math in the 22-23 school year to 74.59. So I'm really proud of them. I know we have some work ahead of us still at Arcadia Middle School, but I know with Mr. Haney and Ms. Dickerson, that school is going to do really, really well. And then Nandua Middle School, 77.12 in English achievement to 80.13. And I'm excited with the new literacy program that's coming in. I only feel like this is going to raise. If you wonder why my high schools aren't on there, remember that for the high schools, it is a fluid process, and it's kind of like a funnel. And you've got all this data coming in there, and all the high school data is honestly still funneling through this accreditation system. So I did not include our high school data on this because it's not complete. I'm going to give you like kind of where they are now, but as soon as that high school data comes in, you'll get another chart just like the elementary and middle school, and I'll show you their percentages.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Are you gonna come back to the gaps with the space?
Go back.
Are you going?
Or
Yeah,
you-
go back to the chart and let me, do you have a question, Dr. Johnson?
Well, I wondered with the gaps, if I take, 23-24 English gap, are those numbers? Or those
Yeah, it means it's a level 2. So that means, they were level 2, like for Accomack. Okay, they were level 2 for the students who are African American, and they're level 2 for students with disabilities. So when you look at their target area, like if you look at the achievement, overall the students were green. They were level 1s, but if you break it down to each individual group, that's where their concerns are. So what this does is this gives you the data to say, these are the students that we need to work with. These are the students where we need to focus our attention on in these gap groups. And it can also, with the data that I give to the schools, they can also see which specific child that is. So they'll know which kid they need to work with or which one didn't do as well.
Thank you.
I know that's a lot of data. Okay, high school, I didn't want to leave them out, but right now our high schools are all at this point accredited, and we know that that's not going to get any worse. That's the worst case scenario. We're all accredited. That's a good thing. We want the colors to be greener. So as of right now, the columns that will change for English are gap group English, achievement English, the dropout rate, and CCCRI, because those are columns where we are submitting information. The students who do not pass the English 11 reading or writing SOL have the opportunity to take a substitute test, and that test has just been submitted. So that information isn't even factored into this. And the only kids that go on there are the substitute, are the kids that pass. So that's where our projected numbers for English, the English achievement and the gap English, are definitely going to come up. So I project that all the yellows for gap English will increase to green. The dropout rate, we've been working really hard to find these students and hunt them down. And so we were able to find some. Neandua High School was in the red for dropout. We were able to find some of those students. We found some for Arcadia, and they came to green already. So we're projecting that, I'm projecting that Neandua is gonna come out. I don't know that it will go to green, but I'd be happy with yellow instead of red. And then our CCCRI, I foresee all of those going to green as well. So that's a preliminary high school thing, and as more data funnels through, I'll be back probably the first or second meeting in September with a final report on our high schools. So, that's the older, oh, I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Taylor.
I see the TCS is red in the science.
Yes, and they had, in talking to Ms. Rosati, or to Dr. Rosati, one of the issues they had was a teacher issue, and so their kids were on Apex. And so we've tried to move them to Virtual Virginia. And so when you've got a program that although it's very good, if it doesn't align with where we need it to be, the kids might not get the information that they do. So we did make some definite changes there, and I know they are working with zooming into other schools, like to the mainland schools, so that was definitely a problem that we looked at and tried to fix. So yes.
So before Kim goes on, so when we visit schools in the board meetings, when the principals do their report, this is what they will focus on, is their data and telling you what they're going to do to improve and in these areas that they are deficient or that they are, you know, their subgroups and things like that. So this is the information that you'll get, how now, how, what, this is the what, this is the how, are you going to fix this? We'll all do that.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so the state, I like to say they like to mix things up. Just when you get comfortable, they're gonna throw something else at you. But it's kind of like, as you look now on this new accreditation system, you kind of see things coming in the past, and I'm like, oh, now that makes sense. So it will be fully implemented for the 25-26 school year. The good news is they'll be doing a crosswalk. So our 24-25 school year will be based on this information that I've given you. However, they're also going to put this new accreditation system that I'm going to talk about into place. So they're going to give us the official under the old standards and the unofficial under the new standards, which is good for us, because then we'll have a chance to, number one, fully understand this new system and see where we need to work on what we need to do before our accreditation is actually based on this new system. So, okay, next slide. So, as I look at these steps, I think, oh my gosh, if I had to run up them, I'd have to take a break. I feel like this new accreditation system is definitely going to be a challenge for us, but when I look at the past year and everything that we have been able to accomplish, these stairs are nothing based on what we can do. So I know that we're going to work through it. I know we're going to work through it together and meet the challenges. I mean, I stood here last year with red and attendance and CCCRI, and look where we are. So I know we're ready for the challenge. Okay? So basically, this is what the state said. We have to set high expectations for every student, not just some of them, every single one of them. We also have to be transparent, and we have to show kind of like our cards. We have to show our hands so everybody understands the process. We want the student to be proficient, but we also want them to master. And so basically through all of this, this is kind of where they came to. They also wanted a system that parents could believe in, students could believe in. As a company, I'm gonna hire a student who graduated from a Virginia school. I wanna know that that student knows what they're supposed to know. So this is kind of where they looked at for this new accreditation system. Okay, so, and you'll see growth, mastery, and readiness, and I'll explain each one of these. But these are the three components, and as we go through it, you'll see where I've been talking tonight, how they fit in. So growth, readiness, and mastery are what the new accreditation system will be based on. Okay, the next one. Okay, so instead of being accredited, accredited with conditions, accredited with warning, not accredited, this is what will be titled: distinguished, on track, off track, or needs intensive support. So these are the new words that will be labeled. Okay, so in mastery, you can see some differences here. Mastery starts 65 at elementary, it drops a little for middle, and it drops a little bit for high school. Growth is in the middle school and elementary, it's not in the high school. You put in graduation, and we talked about our graduation rate, so you'll see where that is. Readiness, is the elementary student ready to go to middle school? Is the 8th grader ready to go to high school? And is that high school student ready to go on? And that's where they've looked at it. So you've got those components at all 3 levels. Okay, the next one. And this kind of breaks it down. In the elementary school, the growth model, they want to look at their 3rd grade reading score, and then they want to look at their 4th grade reading score and say, what did they do for that kid? Did that kid grow? Did they close that gap? Did they work on that learning loss? So that's why you see growth in the elementary and the middle school. All of the principals and the assistant principals participated in the VBOS training in the spring. They're going to do it again in the fall. We're getting ready to upload our last year's data, and that will help us with the growth part of it. The mastery part is what I just talked about. What are we doing in reading? What are we doing in math? What are we doing in science? And then the English language learners. How are they progressing? Are we helping them acquire the English language? The readiness piece, we see some of what we already heard about, but there's some new components. In the elementary school, absenteeism is still there, so you got job security, Ms. Jordan. And then in the elementary school for 5th grade, those students in 5th grade are going to have to complete a culminating project that's going to show whether these students are ready to go on to middle school. The same thing's going to happen when you get to the middle school. You've still got the growth, you've still got the mastery, and in that readiness, absenteeism is still there, but then we're going to add in a career pathway. So every student leaving middle school will leave with a 4-year plan, so that they can work to see how they're going to do. So as you sit with that middle school child, you're talking about what they're going to take in high school, whether they want to do a Badger course, what they want to do. So that's incorporated in the 8th grade culminating project. And the other thing that I liked is that they're putting in is the advanced courses. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that in just a minute. If you go to high school, you don't see the growth there. You do see the absenteeism. You see our CCCRI is still there now that we understand that, so that's a good component. The absenteeism is there, and graduation. If you've got a student that doesn't graduate, what are they doing? Are they getting a GED? Are they getting another type of certificate or diploma? What are these kids doing? And then, of course, our graduation, and a lot of people don't understand this. When the rollover happens, every student in 8th grade rolls over to the high school. And let's say the first week of school, you have 5 kids that you never ever see. They never show up to Neandua, Arcadia, Chincoteague, Tangier. They count against us. So our job is to find out where these kids are. They might have moved during the summer. If we don't find those kids, they count as a dropout for us. And so that's one of the things that we really worked hard on this year, is printing that list and saying, here you go, here's your list, let's find these children. And we were able to do that. So, I feel really good about what the process that we've put in place for that. The mastery, if you look, it's the same. It's our reading scores, our writing scores, our science scores, and then of course our English language learners come into play there. I know this is like a lot. Do you guys have questions as we go along? I know. Believe me, I know. Believe me, I know. Okay, so the other part of this is, up until now, they've said, okay, this is the number of students that passed, this is the number of students that failed. Now with this new accreditation system, they're gonna look at what their score was. Did they get an advanced score, which means did they score between 500 and 600? If they did, that's what they're getting at the 3 through 8 level, that's what they're getting at the high school level. Proficient is did they pass? That's 400 to 499. So those kids are gonna get that amount of points. Basic is basically your bubble kids. What kid was in that 375 to 399 range? And then below basic means they out and out failed the test. To me, I like this because we're at least getting 0.25 instead of 0. So at least it's giving us some credit for the student who took the test, maybe didn't pass. We don't get the full credit, but I'd rather have something than nothing. At the high school level, does not meet, they're lumping them in basically, and they're getting a little bit more there. So the difficult thing about this is it's a little bit easier for us to figure out accreditation now, but as this comes into place, it's gonna be a bear to try to figure it out. I like to have a little heads up so I can, like prepare Dr. Hall instead of just having to wait and be surprised. So that's gonna be the hard part, is trying to figure out kind of where we are. Okay, the next big change is students who are English language learners and speak no English whatsoever and are either put into our newcomer programs, work with our L teachers. They are given 11 semesters, which is 5.5 years before they count against us. So if an ELL student takes an SOL and they pass, they count for us. If they don't pass, they don't count against us. However, under this new system, they're only giving them 3 semesters, which is 1.5 years, to acquire the English language and pass that test. Now, we wondered why so much money was given to the L program, not that they don't deserve it, but it was a lot of money that came down the pike. And you're like, what in the world? And then this came out and you kind of saw where they were going with this. So I know that we did hire some more L teachers to supplement, so I'm really glad about that. Across Virginia, 35,000 students are going to fall into this category. So it's not just going to affect Accomack County, it's going to affect every county in the Commonwealth with that one. Okay, the next one, advanced courses. So Dr. Hall was so nice and invited me to a webinar early on when this came out. And they were talking about they wanted middle school to take advanced courses. And we're sitting there and the lady from the state's presenting and there's a whole bunch of superintendents listening. And the lady from the state was talking about how they wanted them to take advanced courses in middle school. And the first 2 that she mentioned were English 11, and I'm like, they're 8th graders. Why are they gonna take an English 11? They gotta finish English 8 before they can do English 11. And the other one was chemistry. And I was like, this is gonna be hard to maneuver through. We weren't the only ones who disagreed, I was happy to say. But we will get bonus or extra points for students who do that. So we offer algebra, so that's definitely one of where we're going to be able to add that in. The students take Spanish, so that's also coming. If you look at the top, it's world geography, and next year in the 25-26 school year, world geography becomes an 8th grade course. So we are waiting with bated breath to see if they're going to count that as a high school course. If they count that as a high school course, we've nailed it, because every 8th grader is going to take world geography. So that's going to give us that credit there for those 8th graders. So we're waiting to see how that plays out. But that is the push to get those advanced courses in middle school. Okay? High school, are they ready for life? Basically, our kids have to come out of high school with a plan.
I'm sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Back at middle school, did you touch upon the use of a cohort model? I'm sorry. That's a minor point.
So basically what they're talking about is the cohort group is the ones that would take the algebra, take those advanced courses. So we try, what we wanted to do, the goal was to offer it so that more students could take it. So if you've got a certain number of students that take algebra and other kids can't take the algebra, we wanted to have a course, and that's why the world geography came about, was that all of our 8th graders are going to take it. So all of our students are going to get the chance to take that advanced course in middle school before they ever go to high school.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Okay, so when they come out of high school, as a high school counselor in my background, they gotta have a plan. And basically with this new accreditation model, they're stating they have to have a plan. You have to get these kids ready. So there's 3 emphases for high school: employment, enlistment, enrollment. And I'm gonna talk about those as well. And basically, here's your readiness, your mastery, and your graduation, which we talked about. We want to know if they graduated. We want to know what they're doing. Our CTE teachers follow up after they've completed, let's say, building trades. The next year, Mr. Hiller is contacting them. What are you doing? Are you using that trade? So basically, that's what we would be doing, is following up with our students to see what they're doing beyond graduation. Okay? And all the schools are state accredited and they're federally accredited. And sometimes there's a discrepancy because what the state requires isn't sometimes what the federal requires. And so here is an example. Students who get the Applied Studies diploma, according to the federal government, are not going to count on our graduation rate. So when we look at our federal accreditation or graduation rate and we look at our state one, we're going to see a difference there. The L students are another one where it's coming in. Virginia, on the math, we learned this last year, we give the student the math they're taking. For the federal wants them to take algebra. So that's one of the things that we're doing this year is new students coming in within the first 2 weeks of school, we're giving them that algebra SOL because we want to make sure we're federally accredited as well. Virginia says they can take Algebra 1, they can take Algebra 2, they can take geometry, but to meet that requirement, we're going to go back. If the kid's just coming from another school, they've already had algebra, we're going to go ahead and give them that SOL. So there's definitely a balance there in trying to meet federal and state requirements. Okay. So our current graduation index is every student who graduates gets 100 points, 75 for a student who gets a GED, so that's why we're steady looking for them. 70 points for a student who remains in school. So let's say they came in and they should have graduated in 24, but they didn't, and they graduate next year. When they graduate, we get those points added to them on the next cohort. And then anybody who earns a certificate of completion, we're going to get something for them. So once again, I'd rather have something than nothing. So this part of it I do like. So at least we're getting something for those students. Now, if they're a dropout and they don't do anything, they didn't get any kind of that, then obviously they're going to count against us. Okay? So enrollment, basically in high school, what they want to see are the kids doing, are the students doing dual enrollment? And based on how many they do and the grade level, the grade that they get in the course, this is also going to play into accreditation. Do they take multiple courses? Do they get a B or better? Tier 2, and you'll see throughout this whole new accreditation system, it's very tier oriented. So I was really happy when Ms. Haney was talking about the tiers. Here's another example. So tier 2, they do one dual enrollment course with a B. The other one is they do one and they get a C. Okay. All right, employment, are they going in those high demand workforce? Are they completing their CTE? So this is the CCCRI coming back. Are they passing the credential? Are they maybe being a partial completer? So maybe they took building trades 1, didn't take 2 because they had to take some other courses, but they passed an industry certification. We would still get credit for those kids. Now we don't unless they do something else. So there are some very good things about this. As you can see, it's very complex. Okay, and then the last one is enlistment. And one of the things that they want us to do here, which we had actually talked about before this, is taking the ASVAB. And I was talking to some parents and they were like, well, my kid doesn't want to go in the military. There's a box they can check. I'm not interested in the military, but one of the best career studies or career tests that you can take is that ASVAB test. And so that's one of the things that we would like to do this year, is to give our students that ASVAB test. Number 1 is a career inventory so that we can help them with that plan, and also it would fall into this category as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. And then the last one, here comes one of our C, civics. Students will be given the United States citizenship test. We will be giving ours in 11th grade, and therefore if they don't pass it in 11th grade, they can retake it in 12th grade. So you've got a senior in government and they're getting ready to take this test. They no more care about that test than the man in the moon. They want to graduate. So we were like, okay, let's do 11th grade, and then we can kind of recover them as well. And these are bonus points. So I used to tell my students, if you don't do extra credit, I don't know what to tell you. So if we can get bonus points, we're going to get bonus points. So, and this is one of the ways to do that. So basically how all of this came about was they looked at the Virginia SOL scores, and then they looked at the NAEP test, which we participated in last year and were chosen again this year. So Accomack County Schools will be participating in the NAEP again. And what they saw was a big discrepancy between our kids who were performing well on the SOL, but then when they did the NAEP test, there was a gap, which made no sense. If they're doing well on the SOL, they should be doing well on the NAEP. And that's when they came back and they said, is our test of the same caliber as this NAEP is? And that's when they decided, they pulled in a whole bunch of stakeholders, employers, colleges, and they said, we really need to look at what we're doing. We need to look at the rigor, we need to look at our accreditation, and that's kind of where all of this came from. And Governor Youngkin was talking about it today. He said, you know, we're doing great things, we are closing those gaps, we have a lot to do, but we're making progress. So if we shift to this year, what's going to go on? Growth tests in grades 3 through 8, right out of the ballpark, right after school starts. So those are grades 3 through 8. We will look at this data compared to how they do in June, and that's where you see that growth component come in. Okay, Greta? And we're certainly not going to leave the high school and the middle school out. In October, the English 11 test will be given. Arcadia Middle and Andua Middle both have a 1 semester 8th grade class. They will do the IRW. The math standards are changing this year. So anybody taking algebra the first semester will take the old standard. Anybody taking it second semester, and that's all of the middle school and the elementary, will take the new standard. So we're dealing with 2 sets of standards here for math. And finally, laser. Hold on one second, we'll get this up. So this is a program that the Virginia Department of Ed has offered to school systems. All of our principals and vice principals have been given access to this, so they can go on and see. The data, some of the data is not in yet, and I'll explain why. But this is kind of an up to the minute date, and you have to wait for it to refresh as well. So if I go on today, it may look different tomorrow because some of my high school data has come in. There it is, red. There we go. Okay, go back one screen for me. Oh, not that far. There it is, laser. Okay, so on this screen there are three components. The early warning system will be students that are, based on information that they are uploading from PowerSchool, are failing classes. Their attendance is not within the parameters that it needs to be. And then the next one is the student group comparison. So there are three components to laser. The early warning system will be open soon. The student group comparison will be open soon. So this is where we can go to our gap groups and see a lot more information with those. So if you click on accreditation for me, Greta. Okay, so this accreditation tracker, this is where we are this year. However, if I wanted to go back to 2015, I can do that on this information. So if I'm a new principal coming into a school and I want to look at my data over a long period of time, this is the place where I can go and see all of this information. So I can search by every single school. I can select at the top and only get my school. So if I'm Mr. Haney and I'm at Arcadia Middle, what's going to show up on his information is his school. So it's school-based. There are some of us that have district access, but theirs are school-based information. So this is the new laser system. If you go, you can see the different categories that I've talked about tonight. Your data, unless they've changed it in the past couple hours, should be what you have. And then if you go down at the bottom, you can see the current year versus the previous year. You can see the numerator denominator chart. So if you specifically want to see what number it was that passed over how many took it, that's there also. And then of course, up to the right a little bit, you can see the line graphs as well. This is a very useful tool. We heard when that it was coming and then we couldn't find it, and then we were really excited and then it was down. And so the only thing that we don't know is how often it updates, but after the governor gave the press conference today, I did go on to make sure that we had the most accurate data. But this is a great tool by the Department of Ed, and all of our principals are using it, the central office is using it, so we are very grateful for this. And if you click on the next one at the top, Greta, there we go. You can also see your gap groups here. So this gives them information on how their gap groups did. So this is achievement gap, English and math. So all of that information, you can see where the levels are, you can see where they ranked as well. And if you go back to the top, okay, and click on the third bar over. And this is if you want to compare different groups, if you want to correlate, if you want to do a comparison, this is where you would go. And they've got drop-down bars for you to pick. So, you know, this is a tool. if you wanna analyze data, which we all need to, because we have to get better, we have to do better. The standard of where we were, we've got to raise that bar, we've got expectations that we have to set, and so this is where we need to be. Does anybody have any questions on laser?
I do, but I'm gonna be quiet.
I know, I am so sorry. I know this is like a lot of information thrown at you guys. As you can tell, it's very near and dear to my heart because I love that we have this information and I want to share it with you guys. I want to share in the victories because we definitely have had some victories in our schools this year, and I'm very proud of them. I will be back with the high school accreditation, so you guys get to see me again.
So may I ask one question?
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Dr. Hall, you sent us information on this laser system. Can we as school board members get, we cannot, okay, we can't get access, darn, okay.
And we can constantly do it through the minutes.
Right.
Make sure we have.
If we could just get at least the absenteeism, if you could take a screenshot of that.
Yes, absolutely, and we can include it in the reports. I mean, we can certainly give you the reports because even though we are all green, I heard someone say it's easy to get to all green, but it's difficult to stay there. And so that's where we want to stay, so absolutely staying on top of it, I'm definitely for that, absolutely.
I was so interested, if I may, in the early, what did I see, the at-risk, if you will. I saw in the prior chart as an example, the students with a disability. I can't pretend to know what all those colors were, but just glancing at the percentages, you know, their concerns they are, no, I'm not on it.
Right, and we know as a division that there are certain groups that we know we have to work on. Our students with disabilities, our economically disadvantaged, our ELL population, and by looking at this data, we are able to, you know, kind of with that all in Virginia, this is where we targeted, I don't want to say targeted because that's not the word, intervened with them. We intervened with those kids and we offered them those extra supports. So we definitely have begun the process. When he was talking about the all in Virginia and how long it took to get that all in Virginia plan going, I was sitting there going, not us, we had that plan in, we were in on it. So, you know, we've got the data, we've got to use the data to drive instruction.
And the principals are really familiar with this, and this is part of their school improvement plans. They have to do a comprehensive needs assessment that's based on this data, and they take that comprehensive needs assessment and they write an improvement plan. And that improvement plan, we will monitor it all year, and that's what will guide their year and what they're doing. And they have to focus on those subgroups. And
It's primarily the bar challenge, those are their SOL scores.
what's that part?
Yeah, so it's just it's their SOL scores, but it's much more digestible and easier to read.
Yeah,
So
it is.
And it's color coded.
Yeah, it's color coded, my reds, yellows, and greens. No one's answered me whether they're keeping that. But, you know, as we look at this data, we need to look at those students who, you know, some kids have filled in the learning loss, some other kids haven't. And we've got to meet those kids where they are and figure out, like, almost like an IEP for every single kid. We've got to have a learning plan for every single kid. What are we going to do to get the student through elementary school? Are they ready for middle school? Are they ready for high school? What are we going to do? So that's definitely the challenge that we have before us. But like I said in the beginning, we are moving on up.
Ms. Ferguson, I
Yes.
just want to say that this is a lot of information, but I thought you presented it really well.
Thank you.
Very thorough, and I really do appreciate the time that you did. This is really, you know, eye-opening, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate
And you
it.
guys have my email address, so if you have specific questions when you look at this data, please call me, please email me, and I will be glad to help you in any way I can. So I thank you for your support. I've been in this job a year, and I absolutely love it. So thank you for your support, and hopefully we'll be even greener next year.
Item 7.01, the approval of
Mine won't be as long or as exciting as Kim's, so I'll say that right up front. This will be the third meeting in a row that you've seen this, so I don't think that there's any need for me to go over unless you'd like to look at a specific slide. As you recall, we received more money than we originally put in our advertisement for budget, so the rules regulate that we must go out, and we have, the staff has made a proposal to the school board. We've had a public hearing on that proposal, and now tonight, it's up before this board for approval.
So this is for the budget, this is not for the 24 million excess.
No, sir. This is additional money for the 24-25 operating budget.
Madam Chair? Yes, sir. I move that we approve the FY 25 operating budget.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, so, regarding the, security personnel, and I know it's in the budget, but, I thought somewhere in the back of my mind that we were gonna go for a grant for that money.
We
Did that ever-
do a, and Mr. Bennett can speak more on this than I, we do a security grant every year. It's specifically aligned, we're doing that mass notification system, and they're specific items. It's not that large.
No, and the grant for security officers and SROs is still a grant that we're working on right now, because the state will put it out for us to, for everybody to submit to it. It is a competitive grant. We will apply for funds, and when I apply for the funds, I'll apply for the maximum amount of funds that are allowed. I think it's $250,000. But that's still a grant that's not even out for submission yet. So still preparing it, trying to have it ready when the time comes.
So how does that work if we get the grant, then does that apply to, say, the person?
It'll apply to the cost of the security.
So then if that were to happen, we would have to come back and, if that specific is to use at-risk money. So if we were to get another grant to help offset part of this cost, if we were successful in that, then we would come back with, we have this extra, not extra money, it's in the budget, but we are going to redirect and blend the funding of it. And that would open up the possibilities for other items.
And how many security guards do we get for $925,000?
I don't have the numbers in front of me tonight, I apologize.
Because that man never said, he just,
It was 4 at the high schools, 4 to middle schools, and then there would be a shed off of those to the elementary schools. I think in total it was 18 security guards. I'm scared to put a number out there because I not having it in front of me, because we looked at it 3 different ways. We looked at security guards in all schools. We looked at it with the shed down of having 4 started at the high schools and things like that, then moving 2 of them to elementary schools. And then we also looked at a reduced number that didn't provide the amount of coverage that we looked at, so we ruled that one out right off the bat because it didn't kind of do what we needed it to do. But the number we worked with, 24.
So like you said, there were 3 options on the presentation.
My battery wasn't dead on my phone, I could probably find it.
Yeah, mine's
My battery's dead.
Yeah.
and with that security company, is that just for 1 year, or are they expecting us to sign a contract for several years?
That was for,
1 year,
1 year.
1 year was what it was. And, cause I told them based on grant opportunities, stuff like that we could not enter into a multi-year agreement with them because we didn't know what grant funding would be available or if we would even qualify. So we didn't wanna get into a situation on multiple years, not knowing how we would move forward.
I guess for me, okay to speak, I'm not 100% sold on these security security guards. I feel like maybe that money could be used elsewhere than to keep that $925,000 in. I don't know, I'd like to hear from.
I will tell you that,
Protect.
the teacher advisory is one of the groups that we talk to, and they do not feel comfortable with the examining bags, and, trying to monitor the metal detectors. So this is one of the things that would take off of them, and they could be in their classrooms as much as possible. Also, with them, and they're going to be visible all over the buildings, and they can help monitor hallways, monitor bathrooms and things like that during the course of the day. So this is, the recommendation for this was really kind of based off of information that we did receive from our advisory groups.
I mean, I do have to say, I do like the thought that teachers don't have to go through the bags, they can go into the classroom and do what they need to do at the beginning of the day, but, I don't know, I know we've been seeing this, it's been presented to us, I just have a little hard time swallowing that $925,000. You know, I like to see vape detector and things like that possibly instead of, money being used for that security guards. And it's just my opinion. I don't know who else, anything else to think.
Yeah, I do. I want to first acknowledge those thoughts, and my thought is, we can't put a price on safety or security. I feel rather strongly that every dime, every penny that we put toward our students' safety and our student security, I can think of a number of things that are very important. Also, extracting or taking away from student security. When this information has been presented to us, starting in detail in the July timeframe, I look back, I mean, we had details as early back as July 16, and I offer it respectfully. I have one additional thought, and it's on, it was just something I just wanted to add, but I do.
And I'm not taking away, I agree with you 100% about the security or safety for our, not just our students, but also our staff. And so I'm not arguing that point one iota, but I guess there's other things that we've seen that going on in the schools, and I've been talking about this for a long time, with vape detectors and things. And to me, that's a big safety issue as well. And so I don't know, maybe we could have other people that we could actually ourselves hire instead of maybe going through the security guards. I'm just not 100% sold on how that would be in our schools. I mean, again, I'm 100% with you on the safety, not just for our students, but our staff as well.
Madam Chair, it came back to me, may I?
Yes.
I really scribbling. There are things that, as board members, that we can't speak of in public session, right? So far as the range of discipline type things that we see. That's the additional thought that I had so far as I see this measure coupled with other things that are on the table, like Bobby spoke of, could only help prevent, hopefully, and manage some of the things that we see in the discipline hearing. That's all.
One of my concerns, and I think it's a concern for our parents and teachers, is that once our kids get through in the morning, there's those stragglers, those kids that come in during the day. There's no one manning those metal detectors, so anything can get through during the daytime. Those security officers would be, someone would be like, for instance, this would use Arcadia, for example, that front side, there's no one there after the kids come in to check the kids' bags or to check anything. So that's an additional safety measure that we have in place, that we could have in place when having someone there. Also, as far as the vapes, the kids are not vaping in the bathrooms anymore. Basically, they're vaping in the buildings, in the hallways, in the classrooms. So putting the vape detectors, and I totally agree with you, if you put them in the bathrooms, then they're gonna vape somewhere else. And we've done the research on this, so I just think that if you have more people walking around your buildings, and if you have more people, and you can see the, all the things that the principals are gonna have to be doing with the SOLs and all of that, they need to be in the classrooms. Of course, we always encourage them to be visible in the buildings, but to be on the hallways all the time, they're gonna be in observing a classroom, so that means they're not gonna be on the hallways. They need to be on the hallways. Somebody needs to be on the hallways all the time. We're not saying, that anything bad has happened. We don't want anything bad to happen. We just want another layer of, security for our students. And if this does not work, or if we don't find that we need it after the next year, then it'll be gone. But, it's just something that is the biggest fear of ours, is who's gonna come in with something during the daytime and no one's there manning those, metal detectors, or no one's there checking the bags and things like that, so.
Yes, Dr. Hall has said a lot of what I was about to say. I know a fact, vape, the students who use vape, they don't blow it in the air. If you look at them, they carry towels with them. They take the towel and blow into the towel, so you would never see it going in there. And like I said, this company, they'll do a background check on every person they hire even before they even get into school. They ain't let no predator come into school to basically protect the school student. And like she said, we should at least give it a year trial. I mean, if it doesn't work as they say it does, yes. After that, it's a year by year contract. I just say give it a year, because I'm looking at the safety of the children, and like I said, these kids are getting smarter with these vape uses and all that. We need an extra pair of eyes, and if the teachers stay in the classrooms, that will make it even harder for the students to vape. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
I had a question. So, do we know what these security guards would be paid per hour?
I think it was 18 was the lowest.
I personally would rather put $925,000 towards more SROs in the schools to have a security company come in. That's just my personal opinion.
The biggest problem with that is, and Jason can probably attest to this, they can't hire SROs. They can't get anybody. And that's the problem there, that, you know, I think I agree with you. I would love to see that, but they can't
So
hire.
how much training these people are gonna get to come into the schools?
Allied has the best security training package in the business. They're the top.
Have you ever been to Purdue? Have you ever been to Purdue?
Have I been there? I have not.
I have, lots of times, and that's the same company that deals with them, right?
Right.
I wouldn't want them in these schools. That's my personal opinion. So,
So to also address your question, we've had an opening for 2-3 years for an additional SRO.
so how much are we paying the SROs?
They're paid by the sheriff's department.
So we got $925,000, I think that would entice somebody to wanna step up and work here.
The way we have it right now is through a memorandum of understanding with the sheriff's office in the town of Shinnecock. So they're not our employees, and they don't report to us, which is fine, I'm not saying that, but we don't determine what they're paid or any of that, or their training or anything.
But with an SRO, you get a certified law enforcement officer as well. You know, you have somebody that's completely trained, not partially trained.
And like I said,
And
we've
I
had
mean,
an
and I
opening
under-
for at least 3 years, maybe
But,
4.
but you can't hire an SRO with what a deputy makes. How do you think you're gonna get people to do the same amount of job for $18 an hour when it's gonna cost us $925,000 a year to get these folks?
Well, we do have schools across the country that use them, even in Virginia, that's what they use their school security officers, and they have an SRO, it's just another layer, because they can't get all the SROs that they need, so they use a security company to help them, to provide security in their buildings. So, but, Mr. Chef Wessels will tell you that you can't get officers, you this is just one of my efforts to be proactive. We don't wanna wait until something happens and then look back. And, this is additional money that the state gave us that were at risk, and we didn't know it was coming. So it's like, what else can we do to help protect our students or to add another layer of, security? But I agree with you, if we could get SROs and sheriffs and state police or whatever, that would be fantastic. But right now, we don't, and as I said, every time I go to Arcadia and I come in that front door, it bothers me that anybody can come in that front door. They're buzzed in. By the time the secretary buzzes them in, they're in. What are they bringing in with them? And it's the same thing at Mandua also.
I do, things have been brought up before. I know we, as a board and the safety committee, has discussed requiring the students to have clear backpacks. We've talked about weight detectors. We've talked about having the sheriff's department come with the dogs to root out things that the students shouldn't have. It just seems like there are some other less expensive options, and we're not implementing any of those. And I believe this was mentioned during a couple of the cell phone policy committee meetings, that there are staff, not necessarily teachers, but there are staff that would be willing to staff the front doors and go through the bags for a small stipend.
They can't get paid, they can't double dip. If they're already being paid under contract for a job, they can't do another different job and be paid at the same time, so they can't double dip. The only thing they can do, we have our teachers, but they're giving them planning to do an extra block, so they can't double dip like that.
So Madam Chair, it seems that we have one, just an observation, one budget line item, a lot of great points and considerations. $3.1 million budget, and there's one line item that is the only one I'm hearing. Do you want us to consider everything at one line item, or?
Can we set?
I was waiting for the vote, because there was a motion and a second, but depending on the outcome of the vote, I was going to ask if it didn't pass, if we could vote on everything but that item, if that didn't pass. The reason being, look at the ELL money. Therese has teachers, and TJ they have teachers in the wings that we need to spend this money because this is August 20th. And also, if we do the security guards, I seem to recall from the presentation, I don't know that we wouldn't be operational for the start of school now. I mean, it takes a while. You can't gear up an operation of that size. But at least if that's the one item, Katie's doing stuff with the 4-year-old program, Teresa's doing stuff with the L's, we need to move forward with that. But I was waiting until, I believe you made the motion, I was waiting for that, and then I was gonna motion.
You made the motion,
Yes, that's what
friendly
I'm saying.
amendment.
Madam Chair, I amend the motion to approve the FY '25 operating budget with the exception, or excluding the $95,000 for security. What is it? $925,000.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the budget with just taking that one line item out about the security guards. And a second.
What happens with that 925? Does that sit there, or?
That's what I was gonna ask. What do you want? I mean, this was the staff's with the stakeholders meetings, recommendation. So if that doesn't pass, what do you expect from staff now? Because I can't just not have that appropriated. I mean, it can wait, yes, I'm not saying it can't, but a decision has to be made because we don't want to receive money and not have a way to spend it. So, we have to have a path forward.
How long can we wait?
How long can we wait, I have parameters vouchers that I have to show we've spent our at-risk money for the year. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, it just has, at the end of the year, when the dust all settles, I have to prove that that Accomack County Public Schools has spent the amount that they've been allotted in at-risk.
Okay. Everybody good with that? Motion is second, approve the budget without the security guards for now. And we will revisit the 9:45 later. All in favor? Opposed?
So I'm just asking, what do you want from us next? I just wanna know what the expectation is so that I'm not falling short of it. We have $925,000 left on the table, so to speak. And do you want the staff to come back with another proposal? Or do you wanna look more into this?
Let me talk with the board and we will.
Okay,
I will
just as long as we're not doing what this board
Right.
is asking.
Right, we don't wanna not do anything, right. I will send an email with collective thoughts. Thank you. Okay, our cell phone policy. And I guess everyone heard the news that the governor gave direction.
Good evening, everyone. We're here to, make an amendment to the cell phone policy that was already approved, at the last board meeting. Per the, draft, guidance from the VDOE that came out on August the 15th. The amendment that we would like to make would be, they want no cell phones for bell-to-bell instruction, and which they included bell-to-bell to mean all day, included lunch. So at the previous cell phone policy, we were gonna allow our high school students to be able to use their cell phone during lunch. So we want to remove that and make it to be aligned with the policy from VDOE to take that usage out for high school, in addition to making it very specific per the guidance that they do mean all devices to include smart watches. So if the students do wear them to school, they are to be off and stored away also. So I guess they would have to remove them also coming into the building. So we would like to be specific that it does include watches and any other devices, for the students, their iPads, tablets, and things of those natures. The main questions came out of everything was about the watches. This gave the clarification, they include that. So if the students do wear them, they have to remove them when they get to school and have them off also. Usage will still continue on the buses for middle and high school students. And the other addition was to have them stored away either in bags, purses, or lockers. So I had to amend that section for high school. Seems like as the recent years, I guess since COVID, our high school students are not using their lockers. For whatever reason, they think it's cool to walk around with the backpacks with everything in them. Middle school has the lockers, so I had that in their part. Last year, most of the schools had them store them in their lockers. So those are the only amendments we're making to be aligned with the model guidance that came out on the 15th, on Thursday the 15th, prior to us making our policy. And I'd like that to kind of be immediate, is that the right word, immediate approval for tonight, so we can get this on websites and update it and amend it and put out there to the community that it does include watches and it's all day, so no usage during lunch. And that was pretty much the only differences in the lockers, or put away in lockers or bags.
Yes.
I just have one suggestion for clarity's sake, maybe. I was wondering if instead of completely deleting the last two lines, that start, high school students are permitted to use their cell phones in the cafeteria, et cetera, instead of deleting those two sentences, can we change it to say, high school students are not permitted to use their cell phones in the cafeteria during their scheduled lunch period, and then say students are not allowed to make or accept calls during instructional time.
That's fine.
Just for clarity's sake.
Gotcha. Now, I thought the instructional time would perhaps could be interpreted that, well, I'm not being instructed right now, this is instructional time where we find matter of as, you know, just as bell to bell, this is not their instructional time. Not sure what the purpose should be, but I see that that could be, you know, argued as, well, this is an instructional time.
The guidelines say bell to bell means from the first bell of the school day.
End of the day.
End of the day.
Dr. Johnson's pointed out that it does.
And I did also, I'm sorry to add, I did add the vocabulary, the definitions as defined by VDOE, how they describe bell to bell, what stored meant. I do see what you meant, Ms. Bowman, but I just struck it all out, because I don't want even anything there that I just took it all out, so they can't even say it was there, it wasn't, I just struck it all out, just so they can't have any confusion, just took it all out. For that lunchtime part.
And I will clarify the definition that the instructional time actually does say when instruction is going on, but the bell-to-bell definition gives the bell.
And so that's what we added, was the clarification of the definitions as defined by BDOE. So I added that at the end of the policy, so parents can see in the personal electronic communication devices. And I even highlighted smartwatches when I added that part in, just so they can see where we're getting our verbiage from, so it shouldn't be any questions or complaints, I guess. I mean, it's gonna be that, but.
Can I ask a question? So are we saying within this policy, we're defining instructional time as bell to bell?
Bell to bell. So soon as they get in the buildings, off the buses, turn their devices off and store them away.
Until
Yes,
dismissal.
until dismissal, including watches.
Yes, in fact, the policy gives the definitions, so it shows definition of bell-to-bell, definition of instructional time, so it's not like everything.
Yeah, I saw that at the bottom, I just wanted to make sure that, because there's a lot of repetition of this phrase, instructional time. I just wanted to make sure that we understand that instructional time means bell to bell.
I know some students, have their own, I guess, tablets or laptops that they use in school instead of the school, authorized Chromebooks. So I guess this is gonna affect if they can't use their own personal laptops, if I understand this correct.
And we're not a one-to-one, bring your own device to school, so that's a personal electronic communication device. That's in there. So
I just
that's
want to make sure
fine.
everybody understands that too, that this includes.
And I put that definition in there also, which included the, personal laptops, tablets, headphones, those things. And students who do require those, who do require perhaps a cell phone or something for medical or for our 504 students, our students who may need them for that purpose, they can get a 504 plan, because there were exceptions to that. Like some students do check-ins for their, our students with diabetes may need it, they would be able to put that in a 504, not per se an IEP. So that would be handled case by case for those students only. But for the most part, they're not bringing anything to school with themselves. If they do, off and store it away, powered off.
So those that have their own personal one need to reach back out to the schools, make sure they get an authorized Chromebook from the school.
They need it from school?
I'm saying that the ones that don't have an authorized Chromebook from the school, use their personal one, they're gonna have to go.
They're gonna have to get
make sure
one
that
from-
they get an authorized Chromebook to use apps.
Right.
There is also, I think some school divisions have learned that if your phone is in your book bag, you're still gonna be getting all your things on your smartwatch.
Yes.
So we could consider having them put the phone in the locker, and then that would be far enough away, the smartwatch would work.
Actually, I think the policy says no smartphones.
Yeah, that's what they have in
No
policy.
smartwatches.
The watches have to be off.
Well, that's the rule now.
Yes.
And that doesn't really.
So we made sure they put
That's,
that.
I mean, that's the rule now, is that the phone is supposed to be off and in their book bag now, and none of them do it. They can't resist the temptation. If they can reach it, it's gonna be in their hands.
But the watch has to be turned off as well, or not on, is that correct?
That's correct. That's what, the main thing that when he brought this out, was the main thing we were looking for was to see what was gonna be the guidance with that, and it also included the watches. That is a personal electronic communication device. So that's why the sooner we get this approved and we put it out into the community, they can wear their watches, they have to be powered off and stored away. So it's their watches, everything, but.
The watch has to be stored away?
Yes, it's a personal electronic communication device, and we're gonna stand on that, not say, let them wear their watches, because Dr. Hall and I tested that theory. Her phone, she turned her phone off, and I sent her a text. Now, we were in close proximity to her phone, she still receives communication on her watch, so it is a communication device.
Even though, so the phone was off, but the
Phone was off,
but the
mhm.
phone was nearby.
It was nearby.
So her watch was still working.
Yes.
I see a lot of children going home that first week.
But that's why we're trying to put it out there.
And then it's gonna be, well, we gotta do something, our absenteeism rate is bad.
Ms. Ferguson's gonna be on this.
Right.
We have to try, I mean, and we could say this didn't really, ours wasn't, we did good, I think initially with that. And then with this guidance coming down, which is good through the 16th, they're still getting feedback from the community and everywhere. Their final and official word will go down in January, but it's like start off the way we wanna end. We don't wanna give them it and then say, okay, come on to January, we're gonna stop, we're gonna start the way we wanna end. No phones, this is the policy, this came down, we're in alignment with it, we're gonna do what we need to do to start at the beginning. Yeah, all the troubleshooting, I think it's gonna happen in the beginning if it's gonna happen. And as far as them using the lockers, they have that choice, the lockers are not removed out of the schools. The students just elect not to use them, and I think there was a locker fee, like $3 or $5, they have to rent the lockers, but if we're gonna say,
We could waive that.
I don't know if we're gonna make them put them in locker, but that is an option, put them in lockers, I don't think they, high school.
I personally think we should just, I make a motion to approve this policy as presented, and then we can evaluate it after a period of time, that maybe we might have to tweak it and move it to the lockers and all that. But right now, I move that we approve this policy as presented.
Okay, when shall we reevaluate? Will it wait till end of the year, or?
It would
I
have
don't
to
wanna
be-
wait a whole year.
It would have to be sooner. It would have to be sooner than the end of the year, because by January 1st, 2025, all policies have to be set in place.
How about the first 9 weeks?
That could be a marker.
Is that everybody?
Because if we have to make an amendment, it's gonna have to be before that time, and then whatever policy we get, they have to be done by January the 1st, all school divisions, 2025.
I think the first time it sounds good.
But hopefully you guys can come to us at each meeting, let us know how it's going.
Now, when we sent home,
That's fine.
Does the motion include, the recommendations that were made? I hope, I agree with the recommendation. Thank you.
Would you make the motion?
We have one for us.
Oh, I'm sorry,
So I can amend mine
It would include,
to include Ms. Jackson's, verbiage.
okay, so there is a motion and a second to approve the cell phone policy with the change from Ms. Bowman. And, we will reevaluate this, we will revisit it at the first meeting in November. Does that sound right? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. School board member comments. Mr. Slidell.
I just wanted to say I enjoyed Mr. Bennett's presentation. I think things look good as they're going, and really enjoyed Ms. Ferguson's comprehensive report. She does a great job when she comes and things are looking up. So, thank you.
Johnson.
Nothing, thank you.
Second what Jesse said about the very comprehensive presentations, very well done. It was a lot of hard work and we really appreciate it.
Yes. Very good information. Ed and I are going to the teacher, is it called convocation or not? Convocation on Thursday.
that said, also, just all of those that are listening out there, I want to thank the teachers that have signed up at ACDS. I pray and hope that we have a wonderful, good year.
Mr. White? Mr. Whitford?
I would just add that everybody had good presentations tonight and very thorough, and definitely appreciate all that.
That's great information. Mr. Neal?
Well, not to sound repetitive, I want to say the same thing Mr. Whippert, Mr. Spidell, and Ms. Jackson said, but I appreciate all the time you guys put into adding the photographs, because it makes it easy for those of us that don't get by these buildings all the time, and the graphs, they were real easy to follow, Ms. Ferguson. Thank you guys so much.
Dr. Hall?
Tomorrow I'll be at Edward Jones's in Exmoor at their backpack drive and to speak on behalf of Accomack County Public Schools. And convocation is Thursday, at 9 o'clock in Mandela, and everybody is invited, all board members are invited to come, of course, we have, our chair and vice chair that will be on the program. And I just would like to have an opportunity in September in a closed session to speak to the board.
Okay. Well, if that's everything, is there a motion, to adjourn?
One item, Madam Chair, that, I can't say what it is, but we were gonna.
Okay, I'm sorry, we will go into, we will have a second closed meeting. So the board will now adjourn to, closed meeting.